Today we're just going to be disassembling, putting things into a parts tray, and then putting everything away for the day, and then so that I can try and come back tomorrow / another day and put it back together without it being laid out all perfectly. That's the idea, is to make it a little bit more of a challenge. I also learned today that you're supposed to keep your other eye open while using a loop, so that's going to be something else interesting that I'm going to do today that I was not doing before. I don't know how I feel about that. We're going to try it though. Alright, let's put everything away real fast just so I have a clean space here. Get everything out real fast. I'm also going to not wear finger cots today just because we're already making a mess. So we will start with the hand removal, as you normally do. Hold on, just let me get some pieces out here. My number 1, my number 3, and my tiny little number 4. Just getting my workspace ready. I have really found that I like the number 2 Horic Tech tweezers, although I do still want to get a pair of the curved brass ones just for practicing. These hands are so high up here. That one just popped right off, and this one should just come right off. Oop, there we go. Put those off to the side. Not going to be needing those at all anymore. And we can take these tweezers and we will just put them directly in here. Also going to take the cannon pinion. I'm actually going to keep everything on the table here today until the end, and then I will stack everything up just so that I can see it all laid out for myself, just like I did last time. Cannon pinion removed. Did not set up my other webcam yet today. Let me go ahead and plug that in real quick. It's what gives me the wide angle view that I can record at the end and kind of see where I'm at with everything. Let that thing boot up for a minute. Okay, so that is this side of the watch taken care of. And we want to let down the mainspring real fast, so let's do that. Ooh, that was fast. That was a lot of power at once. That's probably how you break stuff. Not great, but that's okay. That's why we practice. And I'm going to pop some instructions up on my other screen here that I had before. I actually have them right here as well. Let's see here. Remove the balance, remove the ratchet wheel, flip over, remove the keyless works. So I think that, like, technically, I think I could remove all the keyless works right now. I don't see a reason why I couldn't. But we'll go in normal order here, which is going to be balance first. So go ahead and get started here. And I'm going to try to be better about using the right size screwdrivers today. make sure I have this in line and focused for you. That is not focused at all. Okay, get rid of that. All right, that's okay. I think I want to put a little X right here on my mat for like where the focal length of my lens up front is, just as a reminder for myself. And this thing was actually running really good. I picked up a time grapher really cheap, and this particular movement was keeping 0 to 1 seconds a day with very minimal, oh, that's not good, I don't like that, with very minimal beat error and an amplitude of about 210. So not the worst thing. If I compare that to the watch I'm wearing right now, it's not horrible. This thing is really sticky. I don't want to say it feels magnetic, but it's kind of wild. All right, that's the balance out. And we'll just work our way down across this. I'm going to put this back up on the screen for myself as much as for anybody. Ratchet wheel. Okay, moving on to the big things here. Let's move up to the ratchet wheel. Man, it's a big screw. Let's go full size. And that just came right off there. See, this is concerning. I don't know why. This thing is magnetized or what? But this thing is picking up screws. I don't think that's supposed to be happening. I might need to figure out a demagnetizer or something. Alright, and then that was on there pretty tight. And look at this. It's still just stuck onto my screwdriver. I don't like that at all. Something to Google. But we're just going to work on getting this thing taken apart today, and then we're going to put it all back. Let's go for a 160 on these blued screws. Make sure I'm still in frame for you here. And this is a bit darker than I would like. Let me mess with. There we go. That looks a little better. Ooh, that's a tight screw. Ooh, you're both tight. I'm gonna try a slightly bigger screwdriver because I don't want to push any harder than that. And that popped out. And that one let go. Should be it. There it is. Little. Probably take the barrel out now. And moving on to the train wheel bridge. These guys are really in there tight. Something else I want to do in the process of all of this is just compare all of the nails to see if they're similar. So it is actually only my 250 millimeter. It's only my 250 millimeter, or sorry, 2.5. It is only my 2.5 millimeter screwdriver that appears to be magnetic. Very bizarre. Sorry. Alright, now for the gentle part. This is where I messed up last time in just pulling out wheels. I was not careful enough. And I actually broke the pivot off of this wheel, which is what has the second hands on the end of it. So I broke off, last time I was doing this, I broke off this pivot. Just not being careful enough. So just practicing being real gentle with everything today, while still hopefully getting things apart in a relatively quick manner. It's a little bit late tonight, but still enjoying learning. And then what I want, I think the plan for this week is to let everything sit for a couple of days so it's not all fresh in my brain, and then come back and see if I can take parts out of the parts tray, stack them up in order, possibly clean them, and get the watch back together without having to look at the instruction set. Really just practicing looking at the movement parts, understanding where everything goes, getting the order right. I'm going to try to put it back together as well without the instructions on screen. I'm actually going to hide those right now. I have this set of assembly instructions as well that I have available, but the goal of the next couple of assemblies and disassemblies here is to do it all by memory/knowledge. Another thing that I think I'm going to do in the next week is finally buy the watchmaking tutorials or videos that are sold, and properly learn everything there. Looks like there's a little bit of lint on the bottom of the escape. Well, not the escape wheel, the pallet fork. Interestingly. And that is what looks to be a fully disassembled main plate. There is a lot of oil on these jewels. I will go through with a properly sharpened pegwood. Yeah, you can literally see the oil on the tip of this pegwood from that one jewel. So quite a bit of oil. I don't have any oil or watch cleaning materials yet, so I'm probably going to be reassembling this, and I'm probably going to pull it apart a couple more times, assemble, disassemble, assemble, disassemble, without really oiling anything for the first couple go rounds. Interestingly, oh, these must be the case clamp screws here and here. Not 100% certain, it didn't come with anything here, but I imagine that they would go in here, flex out. There's not really anywhere else that case clamps would fit on this movement, so that must be what that is. But regardless, we will carry on. Let me see if this is working real fast. It is not working. Let's go back to this. Let's put that back in screen for you here. Gonna check this camera real quick. Webcam, maybe just to disable and re-enable. Yeah, let's do this. Deactivate, activate. There we go. Okay. So this is the other angle that I have. Whoops, gotta turn out of studio mode. Just gives me a little bit better idea of all the parts we're dealing with. I got my little light controls here as well. Got this little light bar set up from Amazon. I'm not sure if I love it yet, but it was a lot more reasonably priced than the big watchmakers hoods that I see all over the place. So I figured I'd try this one first and then go from there. But yeah, I believe we're ready to flip this thing over. Start taking apart the keyless works. We will have to flip it back over to take out the last screw, which is holding down. Oh, I don't even remember what you call it. It's the this spring here that holds the crown in. The crown spring? No, that doesn't sound right. Whatever. We are not worried about the names today. We are worried about disassembly, getting parts in a tray, and getting to bed. It's getting a little late here. Okay. That came out just fine. Yeah. Take off this plate here. One thing that I don't. Let's go ahead and keep this thing held down and we'll lift it off of the. I don't think this thing would actually jump anywhere, but anytime something's under tension, I'm just trying to make a habit of keeping a finger on it. And so now I'm going to use that pegwood that I had a moment ago, and we'll get rid of. We'll take off this yoke spring. There's the yoke spring, and continuing disassembly, the yoke next to that. The hour wheel and the intermediate wheels that go next to it. I don't think these have a direction. I think I struggle getting those off more than just about anything else in the movement. Okay. Next, we'll flip over the movement again. I actually really don't need to tighten this thing back in. All we're doing here is loosening this little screw. And we should see a piece just fall off the bottom of the movement here in just a second. There it goes. That is what keeps the crown in place. And what is that thing called? The crown, no, the setting lever screw. That is what that is. That is the setting lever. And that is what interacts with the crown and pushes everything out of the way. We can then take the crown out, and we've got the clutch wheel, and it's not the clutch wheel. That one is the the sliding. That's the clutch. That's the sliding clutch. Here we have the clutch wheel, and the setting lever screw, which comes in from the other side. This is actually probably the hardest part for me to put on every time I assemble this. I'm a little worried that I've been messing up the threads, but they actually look pretty dang good. The threads look fine. So I think we're okay there. And with that, we have a fully disassembled movement. I'm not going to go for reassembly tonight. That was what has that been? That's been 20 minutes to get this thing fully apart. That's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and turn over these pieces just that I don't like being on there. Whoops, here we go. Just going to turn this over. Very fiddly. Okay. And this is something that's interesting. Watch this. So we'll get my 2mm screwdriver, and it doesn't magnet anything here. My 1.6, fine, but then my 2.5mm screwdriver is just picking everything, and maybe this is actually oil. Hold on. Let me get a little piece of Rodico. I've had this piece that's just sitting in here. Just in case it's oil. I don't think that it is, but it could be. Yeah, it's not. That is straight up magnetic. So we got to figure out how to demagnetize a screwdriver. Or maybe it's the part, I guess it could be. Yeah, no, this thing is picking up all kinds of stuff. I don't think it's the part. Yeah, I think it's definitely... Yeah, look at this. Look, it's moving. That's not me touching the escape wheel. That's just it moving because of the magnetic force of that screwdriver. I put a new head on this, which was a Bergeron head, and these are Horatech screwdrivers. I did a dumb, and I broke this one, and I bought replacement Bergeron heads instead of Horatech ones. I don't think that it actually matters. Screwdriver head's a screwdriver head, but let's see how or if. I don't think this thing is going to fit in there very well. What else do I have that I could put this thing in? Here is where I think I want to buy some bigger trays. This thing is going to work for most of the parts, but I think that for the parts that we care about here, it's not going to work great. I am going to grab this little hand box, not because I care about these hands, but because I want them in a different box than everything else, just for convenience, so I don't lose them later on. It's kind of like the last step thing, so we'll put those in this membrane box. Boop, boop. All right, and you know what the last thing I'm going to do? I'm going to put that hairspring back on, or I'm going to put the balance back onto the movement. We're going to go ahead and do that before we continue. Let's go ahead and pick that up. Ah, don't love that. That was poor on my part. Now that thing should be on there. Let's just give it a test wiggle before we screw it down. Yeah, that looks good. We can also grab this thing. Need to work on my box placement in my office. I've got a box where I keep all my things, and it's just a little bit out of reach. Need to fix that. So we're going to put this one screw back onto the movement. Just to avoid any damage to the balance. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put the main plate and the balance back into the container that it came in, which is this little plastic box here. Comes with this. I think that's probably the best place to keep this for safekeepings. Just because it's not going to fit in my current parts tray. I'm probably going to pick up some bigger parts trays here in the next couple days, maybe weeks. Let's see, does this have to go in? It would make sense that it's actually balanced side down. Yeah, yep, that makes sense. Okay. So that's the balance and the main plate put away. Very good. We got balance, main plate. Now let's start putting pieces in here. I've also got this tray, which again, also too small for any of the main pieces here. So I'm just gonna start putting pieces in here. We'll go keyless works in one tray, just because I think that makes sense in my brain. So we're gonna go keyless works in one box here. We'll go back to the main. So that's part of the keyless works. Add in the yoke and the yoke spring, the plate, and the screw. And then we've got clutch, clutch wheel, setting lever screw. We will put the stem in off to the side. The stem can go in there as well. We'll keep going here. Let's put all our wheels in the middle, just for kicks. There's not really a rhyme or reason for me doing any of this organization. It's just what makes sense in my brain at the moment here. We will go ahead and see if we can't get... I don't love the idea of stacking these just because they could scrape each other, so we're going to keep those separate. We can put the escape wheel bridge with the trainer wheel bridge. We'll put the barrel in here. I actually had a thought that I would take apart the barrel and try to get the main spring back in by hand. I did get the little main spring closer. I just bought that off of Amazon. We'll see how it works. Depends on how ambitious I'm feeling. I'm then going to put all of my screws. And these all look identical to me. We will measure them and check them out for real when we're putting this thing back together. We're then going to do my main wheels here. The thing that I think that I like about the other parts trays that are they're like a long, and they're like a long with 5 compartments, is they have deeper compartments that I think just better suits this, because these could all very easily shuffle around. Now, where should I put the cannon pinion? Where do you make sense? Almost keyless works, I think. Okay, and we're gonna put the escape or the pallet fork bridge can come over here with this bridge, because it can do, yeah, look at that, it just hides underneath there. We're gonna put the pallet fork in the middle with the rest of the train of wheels, upside down there. And we will put the pallet fork screws over here with all the other screws. And here's the question, is the plate the same as the pallet? It is not. So those screws, I'm gonna pull them out so we can look at them together. These screws are very slightly different. Just so that I can remember as well. There we go. Let's zoom in on that. So you can see this one here has an edge on it. I'm gonna try to get the lights way down in there. There we go. Get this out of the way. So this one has a slightly bigger lip on it, and this one is also, it also is not faded, is not the right, it's tapered. This screw is tapered so that it can seat into the tapered hole on this plate. You can see this main hole here has got a taper on it, and that screw mates with that taper. All right. That was as much for me as it is for anybody who ever will watch this. And that is the ST36 movement fully disassembled. Put the case on, cap on here. Wow, that was fun. Go ahead and get my lights up out of the way here a little bit. Let's see here. Maybe I can show. Do I have main monitor? No, that's less than ideal. Let's do this. Let's hide the disassembly steps real fast, and I'm gonna see if I can't pull up what I was talking about. I do. I still have it in the cart here. These came very highly recommended from several watch makers slash repairmen. They also come in two different sizes, I believe, the large and the extra large. Yeah, so you can see here's the extra large and here's the normal one. This is an entire movement inside of one of the small trays. However, it's probably a smaller movement, but regardless, that's okay. This dial would probably fit in here as well. So I don't know. We'll see. I might get. I'm going to see what the actual dimensions of these internals are, and I might measure the ST36 because I think it's about the biggest movement, or it's a pretty big movement. I'm going to measure it real fast because I compare that to the watch that I'm wearing at the moment. And the movement in this is quite a bit smaller. But I still think it would all fit pretty tidily into the smaller size. I got this off Amazon, and I have a whole stack of them, and I'm not really sure how I feel about them for now. They're working great, I think. I don't love that the lid does not lock on. Yeah, I don't love that this lid can just come off, because if this thing, heaven forbid, this thing got bumped or knocked, and then like also just the fact that all of the trays are not individual compartments that come all the way up to the top means that things could jump over these little walls, possibly. Not likely, but it could happen. Yeah. So, gonna look at those S-Linger kits. Gonna look at maybe buying one or two of those S-Lingers, and if I like them, I'll buy a couple more. Yeah, we'll put this thing back together in a couple days. Oh, you know what I never did? I never took off the click spring. The click spring is still on the barrel bridge, funnily enough. So I'll take that off before I start up again, either tomorrow or the next day, whenever I put this thing back together. Yeah, that was the goal for today. I have a backup ST36 in case I break anything. My plan here is to mark the number of times I've reassembled each one of these movements, just so that I can kind of track for myself. This thing has been disassembled and assembled once without oiling. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for coming along today.